get him. Let's go get him today, man. Let's go. Hey, dominate on 3. 1, 2, 3, dominate.
Flipping it over to the 49ers side, one level of concern, Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell. We've seen this week, Mitchell hasn't practiced all week. McCaffrey with the calf contusion practiced today for the first time in limited fashion. Is that, how worrisome is that for you, especially with the Niners trying to run the football in the playoffs?
Yeah, it is worrisome, right? You need both of them healthy. You need both of them ready to go. Thought Elijah Mitchell looked good. He's been kind of cursed this year. Every time he comes back from injury, he looks, very good. He looks explosive. He looks fast. He looks strong. He gets hurt again. And so he's kind of snake bitten this year. Knock on wood that he's ready to play. And then same thing with McCaffrey. I thought McCaffrey looked unexplosive on Sunday against Dallas. I really did. I thought probably his worst game as a 49er. And they're going to have to run the football in this game. They're going to have to make a statement running the football. The Eagles' D is big. Their line's big. Their linebackers are fast. Their safeties are good. Their scheme is creative. It's not going to be an easy game. They're going to have to run the football because everything in this offense works off running the football. They're going to have to be able to run the football on the perimeter as well. I think this is going to be a big Deebo Samuel game. They need Deebo Samuel to look the way he looked against Seattle. They need him to set a physical tone. I think for the 49ers to go into Philadelphia and win, they're going to need Deebo Samuel to have a big game in the run and the pass game where, he's setting a physical tone. He's getting to the edge. He's, doing what he does after the catch, because if there's one thing I could pencil into Philadelphia's defense, they've had some issues tackling at times this year. And we know who has the best players in the NFL in terms of guys with the ball in their hands. That's the 49ers, right? Ayuk's exceptional. Samuel's the best in the NFL. Kittle's very good. Juszczyk, Jennings, Cloud, McCaffrey, Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. I think it's huge, especially the Mitchell news, because he hasn't practiced in 3 straight games. It seemed like in the second half something was bothering him, and in practice, he hasn't practiced the last 3 days. Now, McCaffrey as well, you could see it in the film last week, and that the explosion wasn't there. And the issue is when you don't have that explosiveness as a 49ers running back, as McCaffrey has had in past games, the offensive line, it's a good offensive line, but sometimes the struggle is, especially against strong defensive lines, they struggle to move the line of scrimmage in when you're running in between the tackles. And sometimes, and obviously that's why a lot of the big runs come outside on the outside zone schemes where you can have the tight ends incorporated in the blocking scheme, where you can obviously rely on Trent Williams and the pulling guards and different things like that. And so without that level of explosiveness, it's tough because some of those 4 or 5 yard gains that you get by bursting through might only be a 2 or 3 yard gain, and it slows you down just time and time again, and it forces you to pretty much execute at a higher level to try and get that touchdown. As for Mitchell, I said before the playoffs, coming in after he had his last injury, that he was going to be the X factor. We know what Deebo Samuel is going to do. We've seen how Christian McCaffrey worked. We saw how really the entire offense worked. But Mitchell, especially in the playoffs, adds this level of physicality that the 49ers don't necessarily have as much in the running back room, apart from Jordan Mason, who just doesn't get the ball. So I thought that Mitchell would generally just be that guy who can be the second half workhorse. When defenses are tired, you get Mitchell back in the game and you see you essentially reap the benefits. And the 49ers did that this past week. And I think that that's going to be huge, because if that groin injury is holding him back, what happens with that backup running back position, especially if your top guy is still not at 100%?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree on all fronts there. And the one last thing I would add is with the 49ers offensive line, I don't know if it's necessarily an inability to move size, because they can. It has more to do, I think, with when they see a lot of different looks from different fronts and they see a lot of movement pre-snap in terms of fronts.
Right.
And Dallas was doing that a lot. And when you cause them to think, or they're not split second just reaching, or not sure exactly where they have to redirect their block because they're not sure where their guy is, it can cause a little bit of problems. And that's where the one thing about Philadelphia, though they're a very creative defense, is they like to be in that penny front in their base. And that's I'm sure Shanahan's going to have a plan on how he wants to run the football against that front. But
yeah, I agree.
It's going to make a difference to have Elijah Mitchell. I mean, yeah, he was definitely the better ball carrier between him and McCaffrey, I would say, on Sunday. So, yeah.
I agree.